Are you ready?
Why are you nervous?
Oh, no.
I'm not
I feel like
nervous,
this is like a
you look
challenge in like
nervous. I feel
RuPaul's
like
Drag
I've gotten-
Race, and you're just like fumbling your lines. You're like, shit, and they'll be like the
Great
edits going.
fucking
Continue.
start. Okay, fuck.
No, in a good way.
Hello, and welcome back to Judge a Book, a podcast by Studio White Noise. In today's episode, we'll be discussing property brands and campaigns. Joining me is my fellow co-founders, Lauren Messina, Andreas Pernotto. Lovely to see you. Lovely to have you here.
You too.
I love it.
Such a joy.
I'm Ross Carabellis, a co-founder as well, and I'm also very lovely. Today, we're
Allegedly.
discussing the significance of property brands, their campaigns, and how it applies to you. Now, property in general is a multi-billion dollar industry locally and a multi-trillion dollar industry internationally.
Wow.
Huge numbers, wow, indeed. And how it affects you, the individual. You are essentially choosing the apartment, the suburb, the location of your apartment, your dwelling, based on what people have designed for you, whether it be architects, whether it be engineers, designers, whether it be parklands, whether it be houses, whether it be townhouses, whatever it is, it's designed by someone with you in mind. It applies to everyone, which is huge. That is what we are judging today. What we are looking at is how things are designed, how they're campaigned to the individual, but also the challenge is because our audience is so broad, we have to understand everyone and everything. Now, why are we judging these campaigns? Excellent question. Check the creds. We are Studio White Noise. We are the current reigning winners of Excellence in Project Marketing, awarded by the Urban Developer. Shout out to the Urban Developer.
Woo.
Lauren and I were at the awards. We got very drunk. It was very fun. We didn't think we were going to win, but we did because we had faith in our project. Our current portfolio is 60% property, and we have collectively worked in the property industry for more than 20 years. So we are going to get into judging some brands. We've shortlisted some projects and we're going to dive in.
So before we start, just thought we'd give a bit of background. So hopefully we're assuming a lot of designers are listening, be they students or working in the industry already, potential architects, interior designers, whatever they may be. So we thought we'd start off the segment just by introducing some 3 tips or 3 do's and don'ts of what to do in property marketing design. Okay, so here are our 3 tips for property marketing.
Here's a top tip. Listen to your pros, whether it be the sales agents, the architects you've hired, the creative agency, or the people who are doing your research. Listen to what they have to say, take on board what they're saying, and don't dismiss anything. Make sure you don't let ego get in the way. Paying them to do a service, make sure you listen in.
Mm-hmm.
Top tip number 2 is get to know your project. So every time that we get a new project for property, we like to go to the site specifically, have a look around, familiarise ourselves with the neighbourhood, what's in the general location and the quirks about it, just to really get a sense of what the potential buyers are going to be experiencing and put ourselves in their shoes. So when we're creating brands, it doesn't need to be, a brand new story for the area, but a rehash of why a place is amazing.
And the last tip would be, don't forget that this is a commercial project. A lot of kind of like design agency or any other project, sometimes they focus on kind of like the design element of the brand itself, where in reality, people buy the property because of the render, because of the location, because of the floor plan, the price and everything. It's very important to kind of like repackage that as interesting as possible. And just to remember that the design is something that make you look into the project, but it's not necessarily something that will make them decide that, I'm going to buy this because of this illustration. They're going to buy it because the render is amazing, the display suite kind of like you feel at home there. Just don't forget about that.
Yeah, the brand just makes it look pretty. So we also have some top 3 tips to avoid when doing property marketing.
So first tip, don't overuse buzzwords or cliches unless they're appropriate. One of the words that has become redundant and we don't use it anymore at Studio White Noise is the word luxury. It's been overused too many times, lost its meaning. So we've axed it from our vernacular, unless the client really wants it. But don't overuse any buzzwords. Don't overuse cliches.
I don't think it's buzzword or cliche. It's more kind of like don't overuse something that is overused by the market. Like if everyone's saying luxury, don't use luxury.
Don't overuse
If everyone
what's
uses
overused.
bespoke, don't overuse the overused thing. You know, if everyone is using red like this, don't dress like us.
No,
You know,
don't copy us.
I think it's more that in kind of like context. Well, something that you don't need to do is don't bullshit. Well, I mean, like don't offer bullshit over the thing that you want to say. Of course, there's a level of kind of like nuance that you have to deliver. But sometimes when you read something and then it becomes off at the top, no one will believe you that the product is going to be that product. There is a level of like exaggeration that you need to deliver, but you just need to find where the line is.
So our last point is to let go of your ego and don't be a fool. So it's not about, yourself as an individual. It's about the client. It's about the project and making sure that we've got the best design for that and for the target audience at the end of the day.
So today we've shortlisted some global projects, and the reason we've done that is because we are absolute cowards. We haven't nominated any local projects or any projects we've done because we do have a lot of friends in industry. We do have a lot of clients who are a lot of our friends as well, and we don't want to upset anyone or step on anyone's toes. Yes. So we have selected them internationally. We have also created a very funsies rating scale on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, or as what we're calling sublime. Perfection. You're just perfect property project. Number 4 is wow. Generally exceeds the quality and quantity of what is being designed. Number 3 is good job, well done. Does the job, it's not offensive, which it's okay, I guess. Number 2 is okay, it's decent. What you see is what you get, very straightforward. And our last number 1 is nah, misses the mark, doesn't do the job. Let's dive in.
Let's.
One of the projects we've selected today is the very famous 432 Park Avenue. 432 Park Avenue was designed by Raphael Vanoli. It was developed by Sim Group and Harry B. McLeod. It's situated in Midtown in Manhattan, New York. It was, and I think it still is, the 6th tallest tower in the United States, has 84 levels. Consists of 125 residences, condominiums as they call them in the US. Thanks. Their starting price at the time of launch was $7 million. Adjusted for inflation is now $8.87 million. 432 Park Avenue. I give it a 4, a wow. And the reason I give it a 4 is because when 432 Park Avenue launched to market, it literally changed the game in terms of renders. Every single company that we worked with, every developer, every sales agent, they always referred to a particular render, which was a bathtub sitting in front of a huge window that looked at this twilight view of the New York skyline, which was stunning and amazing. The problem is that if every developer is asking for the same render and it looks the same, it feels the same, then no one is different. But they were the first to do it in that way. It was high end. It was amazing. There were even some ballerinas put into renders as well.
No, I did not like that.
I love that one. That was my favorite part of it. It was just so quirky and whimsical. The reason I gave it a 4 and not a perfect 5 as well, what I really did kind of red flag about it is a lot of the collateral was a little bit clumsy. The printed collateral was beautiful, but the website is really annoying. As you scroll down, nothing is actually happening on the website. So the user experience wasn't great. So as a marketer for me, I go, is the user having a good time? As a user, I wasn't having a good time. So I did give it a 4. But other than that, it was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, me. For me, it's 4.5.
Whoa!
Well, I mean, like for that time, 2014, I think it's done the job kind of like in a kind of the right way, for the right market, for the right reason, and kind of presented very well for the product itself. So some elements of it that I like about it is like they use the address itself, 432. It's such an interesting number. And also kind of be proud about it and kind of like the font choice for it as well. At that time, it was like maybe no one is doing that. I'm not sure. I wasn't born yet by that time.
Did you ever use it as a reference? Did you ever use the 432 renders
Yes,
as references?
there is a lot of time kind of like you use the reference when you are doing a tall building or kind of like, oh, it's amazing view. Of course, you're going to go to that render, whether it's the kitchen or everything else, because they make the view as the main hero of that project. And I like how you were saying the ballerina there.
Yeah.
There is a reason on how they want to use it, is because it shows the scale of the window. It shows how tall the window is, and you can't even dance there.
But in saying that, ballerinas are naturally small. So
the ballerina does look small. It looks like a child ballerina.
Exactly.
In
but
my
then why did you give it half? Like what?
I think the red flags about the project is the printed or anything about the layout itself, because I felt like there is a kind of weird alignment on some of the website or in the printed. Some of them is like center align, left align, even the kind of like the size for the font. I felt like it was created for like 70 years old people. It's like very large. Well, if it is targeted and kind of like there is a reason behind the large font, I don't blame them. But for me, I felt like the render is nice enough. Do you really need to read? It's like you see the render.
That's actually a good point, only because of late, when we do the high-end luxury projects, the client, the sales agents, they always ask us to do a bigger font. A font is bigger font size so that buyers can read it. And typically the buyers who are boomers can't really see.
I get when you do kind of like, I don't know, 10 and a half point or something font. But this is, I feel like 13 point. It's just a bit too much.
Yeah.
What could they have done better? I think there's layout, and also kind of, if they are doing it now, maybe the dancer is not the right choice. It's a bit too, what we say before, don't kind of like offer bullshit something. You just need to kind of like, present it in a way that it's enough. Put a person there, make it as real as possible. No one going to dance there unless, I don't know, you have a background story that you have a fetish for dancer. How they put a human there and putting a bit of story there, it just makes it a bit more interesting. It is not kind of like something that you would see 10 years after and it's like, oh, it's timeless. But at that time, it was nice. It was something that is different. And we have to understand that there is a difference between like property marketing and everything. It doesn't need to be timeless. You just need to sell for like 2 years or 3 years and you can move on or refresh.
It doesn't have to be timeless. It has to be for the time.
It's for the time being,
You're welcome, everybody. Hashtag, you're welcome.
So my thoughts, yes, I was going to give it a 3.5 or a 4.
Whoa, and that's just a reminder, that's a good job, well done.
Yes.
Does a job not offensive? Why, Lauren?
Or a wow as well. I think because when I looked at this project, my first impression was the website and also the art direction with the ballerina. I felt like it wasn't really a timeless design using the ballerina. I was a bit I found it a little bit jarring. So that was kind of just my immediate reaction. And, this is judge a book by its cover. So I thought that was quite relevant. And I did find the website quite clunky to use. That being said, when kind of looking at the project very in depth, I think, the renders were the focus, the art direction, and the views were the focus as well. So the views, stunning, obviously being New York, those big bay windows, which they feature in pretty much every render. And yes, we've even used these renders as references for our projects when we're doing them. So I think they were kind of, quite timeless in their approach. But I just felt the overall marketing, I think could have been a little bit stronger, especially the website. When I was scrolling through it, it was kind of very clunky. You didn't really know, like the user experience wasn't very seamless. I was scrolling for ages trying to get to the next section and then realizing I had to click. So just like things like that, I think they could have really elevated that experience for the user. And made it this really like beautiful experience and heroed those view shots and images a bit more. The collateral I found, it did the job. I think it was smart to use the number and the address as well. I didn't really capture a lot of messaging that I wrote down, but, it could have, I guess that's kind of one thing that I would improve on, like a catchier sort of messaging point.
What's the picture paint? No.
Picture paints 1,000 words. We
Yes.
use that for something, but
Well, that's that. Maybe that was the thought behind it. You don't really
maybe.
have to say
Actually,
anything.
I did think that the ballerina maybe was, something about balance, perfect harmony, that kind of reference. That
Yeah.
was my initial thinking behind it. Now knowing that it was about the scale of the residences. Yeah, I just feel like they could have used a taller ballerina, I guess, if that was the angle, and probably focus less. Like they had quite a lot when I went through all of the collateral. They had so many different variations, like one in a black dress, one in a white dress, and all these different versions and different models used. Potentially could have used that somewhere else in the campaign.
432 Park Avenue, average score of 4. Wow. So you can see what we see, we will put in all the references that we've spoken about and links. They should all be below. We've selected a place called City Point in Brooklyn. City Point, Brooklyn, its campaign was Brooklyn Born. It was developed by Albee Developments. Its architect was Cook and Fox Architects. It is a mixed-use precinct which encapsulated residential towers, commercial towers, ground floor retail, and it was also at a prime intersection in Brooklyn. So for City Point, I give this a 5, a sublime,
Wow.
which I'm very excited about. I think City Point for me, what they did really right was use bold typography, really bright colors. It was in a precinct or in an area of Brooklyn that was being regentrified, and it was coming back to life after a lot of disuse within that area. And they really injected a lot of flavor, a lot of options. Their collaborators were insane. They had a collaboration with a fashion design, which was Brooklyn Rocks. They had catwalk shows. They were one of the first projects that adopted an urban feel. A lot of projects normally have high-end luxury and it's black and gold and it's all very restrained, whereas this was the first time it had a bit more guts and it had a bit more urbanity to it. And it was exciting. It was another disruptor within, I think, in the industry, and a lot of other agencies and studios adopted it and used it as reference. In terms of what they did wrong, I don't think they did anything wrong. I think they're amazing and I think they're fantastic, and everyone can fight me for it, and you don't at me about it. What they could have done better, I think the handover between the agency to the people who are now managing the property, that could have been a little bit better. You go to the website now and it feels very retail and very commercial, whereas it's almost lost a little bit of that kind of vibrancy and brightness.
Maybe it's budget.
Maybe budget, yeah, always the case.
You can't blame.
But it is one of the tips that we're given, which is remember it's a commercial project, but it has lost. Well, yes, and I think Harbour Grounds, a project that we did in Auckland, Harbour Grounds, which was 10 commercial towers. It's we gave it vibrancy, we gave it urbanity, we gave it fun, and they've maintained that. And I think they've done an excellent job in maintaining it.
151 property for keeping the social media
Shout out
channels
151 and Blackstone.
Very
Thank you
happy with
for
that.
the tip in, and thank you for the work. We loved doing it and we loved handing it over.
Yep.
We want
Sorry,
more.
back to point. Sorry, I digress. City Point, Andreas.
City Point. Again, I think 4.5 because I don't want to give 5.
Why?
I think I agree with you. Kind of like that use of typography as part of the element is always kind of like an approach that is, I don't want to say easy to do, but something that gives the place have that flexibility of like adapting to anything that I want to say without showing the thing in a way. Like I think it's a smart kind of approach to it. The color, I don't know, I'm imagining if you drive down, you see the color, you'll see that there is something going on. Where if you do kind of like black and white, it might get lost. Especially when you are trying to rejuvenate a place that there's nothing there. Color is always kind of like important for that kind of part. Hoarding, like all those kind of like elements of like the storefront, it's like very catchy.
Can I actually ask you a quick question? Is City Point more your vibe aesthetically? As our creative director, do you gravitate more towards that personally?
No.
I
get bored all the time.
But do you appreciate? Why did you appreciate that particular aesthetic at that time?
I do appreciate any kind of aesthetic. It's more kind of like the context of that aesthetic is being used.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Sometimes a client will come to you and it's like, I have this amazing project, but we don't know yet what's going to happen in 5 years.
Yep.
And that approach of typography is always kind of something that is easy to kind of like evolve into something else rather than, oh, here's a render or here's an art direction of a ballerina. In 2 years, people will kind of get bored of it, where typography is something that you can kind of like scale down, scale up, make it loud, make it kind of a bit more restrained. It's easy. And I think that approach is kind of very appropriate for this project.
Yep.
Yeah.
Red flags?
You are the nothing.
Besides me. You have no red flags?
Not really. I mean, like, I don't know. The thing is that I don't know what the process is within that kind of project.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are red flags about this project. It's like, are we going to talk about the local? But is there any interesting local that you can talk to? That's sometimes a challenge when you're doing this.
So how would you overcome that challenge?
I mean, like, hire a nice photographer.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I think photography is always kind of like a very nice approach to it. And also at the moment, I think with the current aesthetic, I don't think you need to do a nice photography. It's more the authenticity of that photography. Yeah. I think the weirder the better in a way.
The weirder the better. Said to hear
Like
it
your
here
face.
first. Like my face.
Okay, my thoughts. Yes, I also gave this a 4.5. Oh, no one else did.
Wow.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Because I think I would save
Wait,
being
hang on.
obsessed
What's with the
with something.
0.5? Why,
I feel nervous giving
0.5?
something
So you're
like
just
a
following
5.
him.
Just don't follow him. Just do
but I'm not,
you.
because I
4 or
don't
5.
think,
Lauren, gun to
I actually
head.
gave it a
4 or
4, but
5.
then now I'm like, oh, well, I would give it a 4.5 because I did really like it, but I'm not obsessed
Wuss.
with it. And
Just
you know
give it
how
a
often
5.
I
You
use
know
the
you
word
want
obsessed.
to. Just give it a 5.
No. So what I did really like about this project, I've definitely used this as references before. The logo. I think the logo is very clever. It's using that same bold typography that the brand has, but it kind of positions city and point as if on a corner, creating a point. So I think that was very clever of them to kind of do that. And then they've paired the actual brand typography as well with that same sort of look and feel, very nice and bold and proud. I do definitely gravitate towards big, loud and bold. So just generally, like more is more for me. So big type.
Is that
lots of
because you're
colours.
little and loud? Is that what it is?
I mean, thank you very much for that. I guess so. No, but so I like that combination. I always gravitate towards that design. So subjectively, I like that. They've also paired the typography with a sort of collage effect. So they have like different images as cutouts kind of laid on top of the typography in some of the hoarding applications. So they've got like, I think it's like a pair of sunglasses or a shoe or food. So that kind of talks to what's coming to the precinct, which I think as well is just like a clever way to engage an audience. They've also used like very bright poppy neon colors, I think, for those images. So again, it's just going very hard on that loud and proud aspect. What else did I say? The tagline or hero message, Brooklyn Born, I think talks to that kind of like younger demographic really well. It creates this kind of like street sports urban kind of vibe, which I think is very appropriate for Brooklyn and New York in general. So I think they did that very well. I guess like red flags.
You have none.
I'm trying to think. Well, I guess if I was really like plucking at straws, is that the correct saying? Plucking?
Nitpicky.
Yeah. Being nitpicky, I would say the like collage image treatment, I guess, could be refined a little bit and more modern. But they can easily swap that out. So they can kind of take that away, redo it, update it, refresh it for, the current time.
We are the same person. I literally wrote, I would be nitpicking if I was to find any fault.
Wow.
One
more thing actually I did write down was just the use of acronyms. I think is also like a clever way to relate to the target audience being that younger demographic.
Why do younger people like to?
Because we're lazy. We shorten everything. You get annoyed at me
we are
for saying
lazy
lol
and we
all
do
the
shorten
time.
everything, we younger people, Andreas. Well, we have tried to judge these projects by shit talking them, but the average score was a 4.5, if you want to go through that ranking, because as a studio and as an agency who works within the property space, we know how hard it is to create these things, the brands, the project, the campaign, the messaging. Even things like the color palette that could have gone through multiple iterations. So we know the hard work and dedication that goes into the project. I might end on a question for both of you. You ready? What is, for our property portfolio and our property projects, what is your favorite thing to do when you're working on a property project?
Like favorite piece of collateral, favorite
thing to do,
stage?
yeah.
To do.
Favorite stage, the concept, is it delivery? Is it the art direction? Is it the imagery? Is it the
Okay.
renders?
Yeah. For me, it is definitely the art direction and websites.
Ooh.
Obviously. Yeah, I appreciate art direction and kind of storyboarding, even like films as well. But just kind of getting a sense of like a visual representation of the lifestyle that could be had within a property project, I think is a really sort of nice aspect and nice way to bring in something unique. And also with websites, I love seeing movement. So whether that be through, you know, an animation of an element of the brand that comes through on the homepage, or just like a simple scrolling interaction or bit of functionality that can really bring the brand to life in a moving way. So
Wow.
My turn.
If you're going to say my face or my age, you can get fucked.
I do like that. I do like
My
the,
face?
Yeah. No. I do like the beginning of the project where you start the project fresh. You see the thing without any, like, with a brief or without a brief, basically. A lot of people hate things without a brief, but sometimes it's a good challenge for me to kind of like look at the project from an alien perspective in a way. Like, you don't know anything, you see it, you start making assumption of what that project can be and what that project will be, and it is kind of like you're in control of everything in a way. Like a logo, you can make the logo like this, you can name it whatever in the beginning, and you can kind of like tie in together piece by piece together without any kind of like limitation, and that kind of like freedom of like, the logo can be this, and then the message can work together with this logo because of one or two reasons, and then the color is this with this illustration with this other direction. The website can be that, and that kind of like freedom without knowing what the budget the client have. You know, it's like, the book can be as crazy as this, and of course the client won't want to spend that much, but unless you put it in front of them, you'll never know what they want to deliver. And that part where you have that freedom is my favorite part, I would say. That kind of discovery of new things. And as I said before, I always get bored. So I always kind of like challenge myself to kind of like, what could be different from this, even though there's going to be element that is similar to another project. As you know, nothing is original. Someone has already done something before.
Yep.
You have to acknowledge that, but you have to kind of inject something newness to the brand itself. And I think
The newness.
and I think working without that limit is like enjoyable until you kind of like present to the client. Now you start knowing what's the limit, and sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it's like it's surprising that they want to do as crazy as you intending it to be.
Yep.
And you kind of never know. And that kind of stage where kind of living in a dream is kind of like my favorite part.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
Feeling the fantasy.
In the fantasy.
I will say
that.
as well, I do love our just like round table discussions.
This
at
is
the
me.
beginning.
This is me. This is my part. Like,
I was
why are
just
you
gonna add
cutting?
on to it.
Well, I was going to say, well, you both sit
I was
in
funnily going to say about
What?
the collaboration part, but clearly
collaboration. Well, Andreas and Lauren, you both also sit in design world and in the studio. So your interaction with a client is a lot, but I sit on the other side. So I sit in the accounts team. So we interact with the clients quite a bit. My favorite part of the project process when we're working on property projects, thank you for asking. I actually like the beginning. So when we actually do the initial workshops, uncovering what the client is looking for, where they want to go, what they want to do. I also like the end when we finally deliver the product, the place, the something. And it's that intangible look of relief and that feeling from the client that you get, which is like, I'm so glad we got there, because all of our clients are always happy and they're always return clients as well. But that feeling of relief, they did it, we've accomplished it, and we've done it together. They just feel like they're in a safe pair of hands with us at Studio White Noise?
Another thing.
Oh.
I think this is another tip, I
So
guess.
you get another
This
thing,
is-
but I
this-
don't.
No, you cut me. I'll wait for him to stop. I
I'll wait for
acknowledge
him to stop.
the amount of thing he want to say. I appreciate that kind of like, you always give inputs from a non-designer perspective.
Are you talking about me, Andreas? Are you complimenting
Yes.
me?
Like
Wow.
once every, I don't know, 3 years maybe. I do appreciate that kind of like feedback from a non-designer. I felt like a lot of designers out there they're very annoyed by the account team or the non-designer comment, but I feel like it's valid. It's valid that you have to see it from a perspective that doesn't know what the font is. Who cares about the font, honestly? Other than the designer, they're the one who knows what the font name is.
Yep.
But a non-designer would see like that's similar to that, and that's valid. If they say it that way, then it is similar because their eyes would be different from the designer. And I think that interaction is more. Sometimes I find it more interesting, and it's more important than discussing it with another designer, because sometimes the designer's like nitpicking. I was like, oh, that font is that font is that font is, well, I don't know, that color is this. I think it's more important to see it from someone else.
You can count on me giving you more feedback and more comments.
I know.
Can't stop me now. Watch out, Daddy. Let's go.
Oh,
No,
no,
don't.
No, do not. Why'd you have to end it like that?
Well, thank you for listening in to our 3 listeners.
And I'll just-
Do you agree with us? Do you agree with what we've commented on, our judging scale? Let us know. Do you want to wish me a happy birthday? Please do. Comment below. Or you can stalk us on Instagram at Studio White Noise. Or you can visit our website, white-noise.com.au. See ya.
Or this would be aired when you're 41st.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, actually, definitely will.